right, this is Lloyd Pike, and welcome to Get to Know Your Neighbors in Regent Park. And my guest today is Yousuf, and it's nice that you can make some time to come and chat with me, and so that we can get to know who you are and what you do and around Regent Park.
Thanks, Lloyd. Happy to be here.
How long have you been in Regent Park?
I've lived in the Regent Park community in and around, I'd say, gosh, I think that'll age me about 26 years or so. No, 28 or 29 years. Yeah.
Just as
That's a
long as
solid
I've
number.
been here, right? I've been here almost 30 years.
There you go.
What do you think about the construction and stuff that's going on around Regent here now? And do you think it's very too noisy? Is it, to get around?
Right. Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying with the traffic and a bit of the noise pollution going on. But at the same time, it's part of necessary development that takes place. So long as there's a bit of communication and the construction workers are following policies and making sure there's no noises at certain times, then I think overall it's well worth it, because we do get to see some of the fruits, having a new aquatic center, having a nice field, and seeing a redeveloped community.
What do you think? Is there anything that you think that we should be looking at to try to get more off for youth or for the residents to participate and to get the neighbors to come out into the parks and things like that you think that might be useful, so that more of the residents can really get to know each other? Because I think sometimes, as much as I've been here, I don't see the residents interacting, and I think that's important for the community to grow and to be fruitful.
You're absolutely right, Lloyd. That's a bit about Regent Park. We're very communal. We're very in touch with one another. So if someone's sick, if someone happens to be away, we're asking those questions. We're finding out, and we're really looking out for one another. And that's across communities from ethnicities, religion, and so it's really humbling to see that with the redevelopment, there's been a new mix. We have an influx of people and more residents, which is great, but at the same time, I really can't say that I've seen all the residents of even just one tower, really. At some point or another, I'm sure I bumped into them, but not even knowing they were actually from Regent Park. Whereas back in the day, before the development, you knew someone was from the community. You had that sense, that feeling. I'm not sure if it was that bit of flair, but we all felt that we belonged in this neighborhood, and we all shared that. And so what I would want to hope for and see is more programming, more opportunities, and more showcasing. So highlighting the Regent Park Film Festival, great organization, by the way. Follow them. Please do subscribe, comment. They do a film festival every year. And a summer series. So every time you see during the summer, they do a nice screening, and they have a series of movies, and it's a citywide event.
So everybody's invited to that, and they can have a good time.
That's right.
And what happens on a rainy night, though? If you can't do it out in the park where it should be, is there any other places that they do this at, to put on the show or the film?
Right on. No, you're right with that. So actually, that happened yesterday or 2 days ago, where we had a series of torrential rains. It was like a monsoon here in Toronto, and what ended up happening, the field got flooded. They weren't able to show the screening, so the movies got canceled.
Oh, wow.
And I know a number of people thought, it would be maybe indoors, but
Right.
It wasn't the case. And maybe that's something Regent Park Film Festival can take into consideration for next year, because I'm sure they definitely have fans who want to come out.
What do you think about putting some type of a theater thing out in the next phase, or somewhere in the park, somewhere where you can see that, where you don't have to cancel something like that, where the community can come together
Right.
and enjoy something like that? And the families come out, and you see the kids having a good time out there, right? And I see that all the time. But maybe there's something that we can do. I'm open that we, you can think of putting something out in the park that you don't have to cancel a night like that so that the family can come. What do you think about that?
Well, I know the biggest concern for the park has just been the drainage.
Mm-hmm.
So because the rain just kind of sits on the field and
Okay.
Mother Nature kind of works, and
Right.
if it doesn't dry up, then the rain just kind of puddles and sits.
Oh, wow.
There's not much we can do there except for ask for Toronto City
Right.
Hall to really kind of step up and see if they can fix up that field
Oh.
because of the poor design. But in regards to backups, I mean, I think Daniel Spectrum could be an amazing backup.
Right.
We have the out-of-state hall,
Right.
which can occupy about 320 seats.
Right.
I think 323
Mhm.
people or so. And so that'd be a great opportunity to turn what was outdoors indoors. But I do know that there's a lot of things in place that have to go on,
Right.
like having to book the space
Right.
and so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll see what the future has. And hey, you know what?
Right.
Maybe having a Cineplex in the neighborhood wouldn't be a bad idea.
Because I think it's important that even when you are crossing the street, what do you think about the sidewalks and the things that are happening in that way to make it easier to walk across the street, or the lights? I always think the lights there, that are waiting too long sometimes. What do you think about that? Like the lights should they be faster or?
Right. I hear what you're saying, and so far I haven't really had a concern with the sidewalks
Okay.
or with the lights. I do know, like when the construction happens and they have a bit of it overhang onto the sidewalks, it
Mhm.
does make it tighter. But it's an inconvenience, but it's necessary. We just have to kind of walk around it, wait a little bit longer at the lights. I suppose some of the lights do feel like they take quite a while, like maybe 2 minutes or 3 or 4, and I think it's a sensor issue. So maybe just if whoever's in charge, maybe the city, whatever the case is, kind of just responds to some of the comments that we make and feedback, just to say, hey, you know what, maybe there's something faulty with the traffic sign
Right.
in this location, and let's see if we can fix it.
So overall, how do you think that the revi is happening and how it's going, and what do you think that how it's going for you? Like, what do you think about it?
Right. No, fair enough. And the crazy part is I remember Regent Park growing up, and I remember every nook and cranny. And well, I miss the old part because it did have more of a meadow feel. There were a lot more older trees, a lot larger trees, and so it gave it this meadow, like I said, field, and a neighborhood inside of it. But whereas now it's still just as nice, but it has a different bit of spice. It still captures the essence of the community, and I think Daniels Corporations has done a great job in just being cautious builders. It took a lot of effort in making sure they listened to the residents and seeing and getting their feedback. Now, not to say that they got everything
Yeah.
right, or that they were able to take every bit of information that they got from the residents, but it's all in part and parcel of how to get it done, right?
Yeah.
We're not able to do everything we always want to, and so
Right.
they kind of took bits and pieces here and created something beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And this is the last question for today, anyway. What would you think that would be good to get more of the residents to get to know each other and to get them out of the apartments? I know that there's a lot of the old buildings are still standing and that. So what would you think in your mind would be good to try to get to know other neighbors that won't come out of their apartments?
No, you're absolutely right. Like there's a number of neighbors, whether they're newcomers or seniors, in any case, in any climate of where their income, right? You know what I mean? Whether they're high income, low income,
Right.
whichever the case is. There's a mix in this community. And so that's a great question to ask. I really can't answer as to how we can really mobilize and get
Right.
them to come out, but I do know it's just active engagement and just communicating and being who we naturally are, which is friendly. People say hi to each other, good morning, and then we kind of get to know one another. The moment we start to kind of have our guards up, and it starts to take away from what this community was.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and I appreciate you taking the time. And I just wanted to say that it's important to realize that the community that we live in is a loving community, and I hope that people will continue to look out for one another, because I think it's important for people that are also in scooters or in wheelchairs and stuff, that somebody will make sure that they get across the street as well and participate in what goes on in Regent Park. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.